Hello and welcome back to the building of the Porg. This is the home stretch as it is. Not long left. Oh, there's some pink studs in this bag. That'll be tremendously exciting. Okay, I've fully oversold that and I'm aware, but I feel that's very much in the nature of this channel is to promise nothing and disappoint. Okay, so I'm making the wings. They're going to go here and here where a bird would have wings. Little flat panel. Good. Alright. I love it when they do this in the Lego, but the instructions for this bit is to take these two I've combined, take this flat piece, put them together. Don't connect them in any way, just have them near each other. It's like the button when I push record, it tells my dogs be aware, be hyper aware. I don't know what they're barking at. Is there someone out there? What? Is there someone trapped down a well? Do I need to worry? I'm not going to load a gun. I can't be arsed. Well, I can confirm the dogs were barking at literally nothing. They're good guard dogs, really, honestly. So, my long weekend is over. As I said in the first video that now came out about a month ago, went and saw Green Book. That was great. I went and saw Can You Ever Forgive Me? The tales of have I spoken about this? I don't reckon I have. The tale of the woman who... So it's Melissa McCarthy. I wasn't particularly interested in watching this film. And then I think Richard E. Grant got an Oscar nomination for it. So I thought, oh, so it must be fairly good then, by that logic. It must be like worthy of watching. Because the trailers made it look like a fairly, frankly, generic crime film. Like the classic... Here's a person that's quite smart, a bit of an outsider, down on their luck. They suddenly happen upon, like, I want to call it a white collar crime, but I don't know if that's quite correct. Kind of a crime, a non-violent crime that makes some money. It doesn't. It hurts some people, but not massively. It hurts rich people, essentially, doesn't it? People who collect literary treasures. One of those sort of films. So you're thinking, okay, this will be the usual thing. Like they'll stumble in it by accident, realize how easy it is. Then it will take a dark turn where they get too greedy and like they lose all their money at the end. That's the traditional path, isn't it? That's what it will be. So I wasn't gonna see it, and then it got an Oscar nod. So I thought, well, maybe I will give it the time of day then. So I went to see that, and my God, was this film dull, for want of a better word. So at the end it comes up saying that it's based on a true story, and in fact based on the book that the woman in it wrote afterwards that became I think they said it was a bestseller, but I'm a bit skeptical because I think what they actually mean by that is it's on the bestseller list, i.e. the New York Times bestseller list, which I don't think that's the accolade it once was. I don't know how much you have to, like, to be on the top of that list, obviously you have to do well, but I don't know how many is in that list. Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it published every month? Do you just have to be the only book that comes out in a month to get on it? I'm starting to think it's not the accomplishment it once was. Because I don't think I've ever seen a book for sale that doesn't have, you know, such and such #1, like, or bestseller or whatever. Let's see, a little grey wedge and a double. So here's the thing, right? Melissa McCarthy's character in this film, she's, for want of a better word, she's a miserable cunt. She's horrible to like everyone for seemingly no reason as well. It starts off where she goes to this party of her agent. It's like this glamorous party, and she's there, and like she's kind of miserable. She gets like the free drink and she pours another one in to make it a double for herself. She steals some toilet rolls from the bathroom, and as she's walking out, she steals someone's coat. And you think, okay, yeah, she's stealing from these people because haha, they're all rich assholes and overly smug. And then later you realise, oh no, she's just an arsehole. She wasn't doing that in like a Robin Hood dashing criminal kind of way. She's just an arsehole to everyone for no real reason. There's a subplot about her cat that it's clearly sick at the start of the film in that she tries to feed it, it doesn't eat, and then later she gives it a shrimp and it doesn't eat it. And then after that, there's like a whole thing. She can't pay her vet's bills, and then once she starts making money, she can, and all the cat's gonna get better. And then the cat just dies, and it's like a plot that is clearly based on like a book that's based on real life, and it's very true because, like real life, it's seemingly random, has an odd effect on the plot, but is never resolved in any way. It's like, that's very realistic and not something I want in a film at the same time. There's this... Oh, bloody hell, I've ripped a piece off already. So it was a weird inclusion. She's supposed to be friends with Richard Grant, who, like... Almost immediately when you meet him, I was like, there's something off about him. I'm pretty sure he's homeless. And then it's revealed like quite a bit later in the film that he's homeless. And I was like, yes, that was obvious. I saw this telegraphed a mile away. How did no one else in the film? Okay. Shit, where did this go? Did the bit just fall off? Did, didn't it? Bollocks, where's that gone? How did that cease to be? Wait, did it go there? So that's... No, that's not right. This is a bastard. It's oddly picky trying to get these in. So that, I think, goes... It doesn't fit. Why doesn't it fit? Should fit, perfectly, like all things Lego do. There we go, it fits. Didn't have it in right. And that on top. There we go. No, that doesn't... I've got to rebuild this now. Bastard. So that was... Should just go in this gap, but it doesn't remotely fit in it. How is that possible? So that's there. What does this even attach to? This was all fine, and I attached it. It exploded itself, and now none of it works. And it's definitely my fault, and I want to blame someone else. Possibly Melissa McCarthy's character in that crappy film. Okay, I've just removed the whole section all at once. It was a bold move. It may not pay off. Okay, so how did this go together? Yes, that's correct. Damn it, these bloody bits. It's actually a surprisingly... It's a very dense build, is what it is. Fucking hell. Right, so that went under here. Under hill, actually. That's what they call them in The Hobbit. And that fits in here. And then this bit should just go on top here. Actually, I think I just skipped that entire step. Wouldn't have made it any easier, but I did it. How is that? How is this now fitting and it wasn't before? I think I was just somehow wrong entirely. Right. Okay. Right. Well, that's that's fine. Now I've got to make another one. I'm sure it'll go smoothly this time. Where was I with the film? Eventually, you know, she gets a good talking to by her person, saying, "Look, you write biographies for famous people that no one really cares about, like silent movie stars from the 40s. It's like it's far too niche. No matter how good of a writer you are, no one will ever give a shit and buy it. Do it for passion if you want, but you can't do it for money." And she just, I don't know, she just seems unable to just, you know, go and get a job, essentially, like most people would in that situation. It's a weird film because she's such an unlikable character. You never feel sorry for her. So when she's doing all these crimes, you're never really on her side. And then there's a whole subplot where I think she's trying to get in a romantic relationship with a woman, because I believe she's a lesbian, but it's never like, I'll be honest, it's never out and out stated. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure she is. It doesn't really matter, but nice to be there, because it's like, do they just want to be friends, or is this romantic? You're not going to go the whole way and have them kiss or anything. So it's like, I think they're just being friendly. I can't tell. And then it just fizzles out and never really goes anywhere. I tweeted about the film afterwards, and the word I came to was dull. Like, that was the issue of the film. It was just a bit dull, you know? Which is almost the worst thing you can say about a film, really, isn't it? Not boring, but dull. Like, the idea of someone like committing this odd crime and the way she does it, it's like, oh yeah, that could be quite interesting. It's not, you know, but then it was just a bit dull. I kept thinking of a kind of a similar film, Catch Me If You Can, because it's like, in that he's forging checks and stuff, which is kind of a similar idea. It's forging documents, which in itself shouldn't be interesting, but Catch Me If You Can is a great film. And yet, yeah, this wasn't. Probably because it starred a woman. Nah, I'm joking. Melissa McCarthy's, she's good in some stuff. I'm not going to give her a free pass. I watched fucking, what was that puppet one? The Happy Time Murders. God, that was an awful film. The only funny bit in it was the sex scene was quite funny. Just because over-the-top sex scenes are always quite funny, aren't they? Right, so step that aside. Pop these two. I saw How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, last night, which I was quite excited for, because I really like the first How to Train Your Dragon. I thought it was very surprising, considering it's DreamWorks, and like DreamWorks in my mind are almost known for making not as good as Pixar films. Like, that's essentially what they do. There's some great DreamWorks films out there. I want to say Kung Fu Panda's pretty good. It's not outstanding. It's pretty good. Didn't like the second one of them and never bothered with the third one. But then there's some right stinkers in the DreamWorks part. The trouble is, I can't even think what they are, because they're just so sort of, they're the properly for kids ones. Whereas Pixar, it's like, anyone can enjoy these. So that matches to that. Okay. But so I like the first How to Train Your Dragon, and then the second one really like bumped it up a bit. I thought it was a great film. Like, it took it from like, oh yeah, it's a fun kids film, to, oh, this is actually this is a contender of like a legitimately good film. And it had like a weirdly unspoken at the time, but it was like, we've taken a bit of inspiration from Monster Hunter here. Like, a lot of the newer dragon designs and a lot of their look, it was like, this is quite Monster Hunter. And obviously when that came out, this was like way before Monster Hunter World, so Monster Hunter was still a very niche title that it was at the time. I think it was around the time of 4 Ultimate, quite possibly. I seem to remember that being a factor. All right, now this should go on a lot easier this time, as I've made it correctly. So yeah, really like the second one. And then this third one, like the opening scene, I was like, well, this is Monster Hunter turned up to 11. They're like clearly wearing like armor and equipment made out of their own dragons, which they later say, yeah, we make it out of dragon scales, but the dragons, they shed the scales. We're not carving up our dragons here. And then like the film from there, it genuinely, it was good, but not great. It wasn't. I'll tell you what the issue was. I think the trouble is, like, normally with those films, it's very much Hiccup and Toothless against the world. Like, you know, there's a problem, those two solve it. Whereas in this one, Toothless has a problem, Hiccup has a problem, and they kind of like, they don't solve each other's problem in any way. They're like, it's like, all right, you go do your thing, I'm gonna go do my thing. We'll go and ride Astrid's dragon. That's where that comes in handy. I feel if you go back and time all the films, Hiccup spends more time riding on Astrid's dragon than his own, just because Toothless keeps getting like, oh, he's been taken, or he's kidnapped, or what have you. I seem to have made an error. Yes, I have. I see what I've done. Failure to count. I don't mean this in like a hugely negative way, but like as a film, it almost felt like a direct-to-video sequel, in as much as there's only one new character in the entire film from like the old ones. That they add one new character, and it's the villain, and he's very much a one-note villain. It's like, oh yeah, there's this guy. I can't even remember his name because he's pretty forgettable. It's like, what's his shtick? He hunts night furies. Any reason why? No, he just don't like them. That's it. Like, okay, yeah, he believes in eradicating all dragons, right? But he got hired to hunt a night fury and capture it alive, because then this dragon, this group of raiders is going to have a dragon army, and he's okay with that. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. That's what he wants. Also, he uses a bunch of dragons. And like going in, you're like, but he hates dragons. Why would he use dragons? That seems like an odd maneuver. Like, if you hate them, I don't think you get to have that as well. And he's like, no, I drug these dragons, so they're not really dragons. They're basically robots. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense. And the whole drug he's using is this venom that he extracts from the dragons, implying that he found a dragon, extracted its venom, gave it to that dragon to control it. But also it's the venom that he can shoot anything with, no matter what size it is, and it just knocks them out for a bit. It's like a terrible like enemy really for the film, especially compared to the second one, which had like a really fairly compelling enemy, bad guy. So just this guy who wants to control dragons. That's fair enough. It's a film about dragons. And then there's like the subquest where the hidden world, yeah, it's a hidden world where all dragons come from and they live. And they end up going there, and it's just a cave under the ocean. It doesn't seem to be that big. Like, it looks big enough like as like an island where they could live, or at least roost, but not big enough for them to live like self-contained. There didn't seem to be any kind of food source. Well, that was it. There was some water, but it was seawater, and there seemed to be a lack of any kind of food. Maybe there's fish, but not. It wasn't sustainable as a close the door, contained ecosystem sort of thing. And it was kind of implied that this is where dragons go to mate, or at least to maybe lay eggs or whatever. Which is another thing. I assumed dragons laid eggs at the start of the film. But then going forward, I was like, well, actually, have they ever shown that? And then I was like, well, they had the younger dragons in the second one, didn't they? And that was a factor. But you see them when they're like adolescent, not when they're like really babies. But then in this one, there's a load of baby dragons anyway. So it's implied, well, so those dragons have mated elsewhere, and that's fine. but your Night Fury has to go back here to do the deed. Okay, that seems fair. And what annoyed me is I heard going in that it was the last part of like the trilogy, even though it's not really a trilogy. It's just like, okay, it's the last one we're going to make, which I don't like it when they say that in films, because it's like, yeah, but the first one didn't really set up for a sequel. Neither did the second one, to be honest. It's like they're kind of self-contained movies. You haven't really laid any groundwork for this to be a trilogy. It's not like part 1, 2, and 3. It's very much, yeah, these are three films. And then, so I knew that going in, so I was like, the whole way through, I was like, so let me guess. At the end, they're going to send all their dragons away. Is that it? Because that's a really shit ending. That doesn't make sense. And then at the end, Toothless was like, you can't be here. It's just not safe for you. People are always going to come trying to take you away from us. You have to go to your hidden world. So sorry, Hiccup says that. And Toothless flies away. Oh yeah, it's probably going to be major spoilers for this film, quite clearly. But it's been out for a couple of weeks now, I think. So Hiccup, he flies away. Sorry, Toothless. He buggers off. Takes all the dragons with him because he's the alpha, which means he can control all dragons. Kind of. The level of control is variable, to say the least, and makes very little sense throughout most of the film. Okay, yep, got that. Yeah, so he flies off with all the dragons to go and live in this hidden world. And I was like, okay, but all that was all the dragons that Burke has as a village. Everyone else still has dragons. There's dragons like all over the fucking place. There's still dragons they don't know about. So it's not like every dragon on the planet has gone. It's just his flock of dragons. And I was like, so now they're on their own in this hidden world, which is quite easy to find. It's just a big cave opening in the middle of the ocean. They found it a number of times. It took them, I think, 2 days to find it. Like they set out on this grand epic adventure to find it, and then like a day later it's like, there it is, found it, job done. I need a mirrored bit. Surprisingly easy. So they just leave, and I'm like, so now you have to live your life without dragons. That's a bit weird. And suddenly Hiccup and Astrid get married, and I'm like, you haven't set this up at all. I never assumed they were like romantically fond of each other at all. I was like, if anything, they always came across more as just friends throughout the films. Like there was a kind of will they, won't they, but probably won't they. They won't. They're just friends. And then suddenly, like at the end, it's like, and now they're getting married. I was like, hang on, you haven't earned this wedding. This is coming out of nowhere. And there's a slight vibe of, look, he's the chief because his dad was the chief. This isn't a voting system. It's whoever you like. That's not something the Vikings seem to have anyway. I always assume like, okay, the chief's died, strongest one gets to be chief. Okay, fair enough. You've got a dragon, you get to be chief. That's okay. Now the chief needs a wife. Well, even though this is a massive village and you've seen hundreds of adults at least, most of them men, there's like 6 children in the village, and only 2 of them are women. So like, take your pick, Hiccup. You can have this one or you can have this one. That's it. And it's like, they just all assume, well, you're going to end up marrying her. She's the only other girl around. We're limited in options. So suddenly they get married at the end. And then there's a little flash forward where he's got a beard. That's the only way they've really aged him. They gave him a beard. They don't age Astrid up at all, I don't think. And they've got 3 kids of, I don't know, the oldest one looked about 5 or so. It's hard to tell. And suddenly they're off in a boat and they sail to the cave that is this hidden world. And Toothless and his new bird are there. And it's like, so hang on, they were just there. Did they know specially to come up and meet him here? Or do they do this every day? Did they? Because I was like, this whole thing doesn't add up as like an ending to a story. It's like, yeah, all your dragons have left, but they're not going to suddenly be safe because they're there. you're still going to get raided, and you don't any longer have your dragons to defend yourselves, which is your whole society. Your warrior caste growing up know how to fight with dragons, not on their own. And now you're not there to defend your dragons. It's a very odd setup. Where does it, what? How? Where does this go? So I came out of the film thinking, I was slightly annoyed because I was like, it's an okay end to a trilogy, but not particularly. Like, it was probably somewhere between 1 and 2 as like quality goes. I'd say 2 was probably the best one. I think it's just because it's one of those where just not really enough happened story wise. It was like, if you lay it out, it's like they rescue these dragons. A dragon hunter gets sent after them. They run away from the dragon hunter. The dragon hunter catches them. That is the story. There's no real nuance to it, and like everything any character does, like, it doesn't work. And apparently this dragon hunter is like always one step ahead of him, but then he's not. It's like every trap he lays from doesn't work, and he's like, "Oh, I planned for this. I allowed for this." It's like, no, you didn't. If any one of them had turned around and said, "All right, just set him on fire for me," that would have happened. That could have been an option. But for some reason, only Hiccup's dad was allowed to die in the series. He was the only one that gets hit by dragon fire, and it actually means anything. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. I know it's a kid's film, but I can be passionate about some things, apparently. It was also one of them where I was like, you could have just had them all living on this new island. That would have been a far better ending. It was clearly shown at the start that for some reason Burke is not big enough, because Burke as an island, apparently it's rocks here, ocean here, indiscriminate amount of woodland and mountains here. They live on this rock, and when they want to expand their home, they build towards the ocean, completely ignoring the masses of forests they could build in. And I think there's an inland lake in there as well. Like, you've got options, lads. You shouldn't have left this island. It's a much nicer one than you went to. Right. I was going to say, it says to put this piece on, and then it didn't show where. Oh, I've made a wing. That's a wing. Look at that. That's a wing. Oh. It's a left wing. Take from that what you will. Does that tell you any political thing? Where does this hook on, actually? Oh, I see. It goes on up here. Wait, no. Is that possible? Ah, shit. No, it must be in here. And just ram this pin in. Okay. I'm not going to flap that now, because I want it to come as a moment of enjoyment for me when I flap it on later. When I flap the wing later, that is. And I know this is a minor point, but my other slight issue with the third of the Dragon films is not a lot of dragon-y action in it. There's 2 new dragons added, fine, but like all of the dragons started to get a bit like similar, you know? That issue with suddenly they don't all seem like unique beasts of any kind. They're all just sort of the same. Right. And Hiccup and Toothless aren't in it together enough. I should really stop talking about this film. See, the thing is, I thought I didn't like it, but maybe the fact that I can talk about it for this long means I did like it. I don't know. I just don't know. Right. Behold. Still deep in Monster Hunter as well. I've committed to the bowman, the archer that I am. It's come out. I'm really enjoying it. It used to be in Monster Hunter that if you took a ranged weapon, which used to just be the bow gun, then there was the heavy and light bow gun, and now there's the bow as well. Bow and arrow, I suppose. It used to be that you'd have to wear your own special armor, and compared to the melee weapons, you'd have much lower defense as kind of a counter to being a bit further away from the monster. So in theory, you've got an easier time of avoiding attacks because you're slightly out of the action. Let's put it this way, if you have one ranger here and 3 blade masters here, if that monster switches up attacking between any 3 of those, the other 2 are still in like the firing line somewhat. Whereas you back here, you're only really at risk when the monster goes for you. That's the theory. So you'd have lower defense to compensate. And I think in principle, you'd also have higher elemental defense because normally a monster's ranged attack would be an elemental one, such as shooting a fireball or an ice ball or a water ball or a dragon ball because dragon's an element. Let's not get into that. So that's how it would be. But not in this new Monster Hunter. You seem to have just the same amount of defense, which is great actually because it's like, oh, so there's not suddenly the huge amount of downside there used to be. That goes there. Yep. So I'm doing that now, and I'm like, wow, I'm really good at this bow using. I'm not, because I already know all the monster patterns. I know when a monster's going to come at me, what I should be doing, where I can stand and be relatively safe, all that sort of shit. And I'm wondering now why when I went on quests before in multiplayer, and like bow users and gun users and that, why they would die so often. Because I'm like, oh, so these people are just shit. I used to give them the benefit of the doubt, thinking, oh, their armor they're wearing is like it's made of glass, so yeah, if they die, it's really because the monsters they've been one hit by the monster and there's not much they can do. But now I've discovered that actually those people are just rubbish. And I'm sat here like, mate, I got a bow and arrow. I'm shooting it into the monster's anus directly, and I ain't dying. And you're over there with your fucking sniper rifle lying on a hill, and somehow you're dying. What's going on? See, that's the thing in Monster Hunter. So many people are like, all they care about is building for DPS and damage, right? Now, there's a select few of those that have mastered the art of dodging monster attacks and knowing what a monster can do. So they don't have to worry about that sort of thing. And then there's the other people who haven't mastered that art and just sort of kind of tank a lot of the attacks and end up dying. And it's like, great, you can do some real big hits, but you can't do them when you're dead back at camp, can you? That's not getting you anywhere. Get some new skills. Maybe take the ones that, you know, stop you from dying so often, because that will actually make a difference. And go and sort yourself out. I can see that you've got the wide range skill, which is a skill that when you take a potion that heals you, everyone else gets a bit of that as well. You still get everything you would normally get. Everyone just gets a bonus bit. I can see you got that skill because you constantly keep healing me, even though I don't need it. Now I'm wondering why you're healing so much. Because now my set also includes that skill. And I'm like, this is wasted on me because I don't need to heal that often. Because I've always got the health, you know? But it's my elitist viewpoint. There we go. Started getting the horn the other day to start playing Civilization again, which is just it's so weird. If I'm like on Reddit or whatever and I see pictures from Civilization or images, it has no effect on me. But if I click on that image and just sort of read about what's going on in said image, it's like it clicks and it's like my mind's like, oh Ben, you remember that game exists? Go and play it. Go and play it for a few hours or a few days. It's like, no, it's dangerous. It's the most dangerous time sink of a game that there is, I think. I see pictures of people who have got it on their Switch and they're like, my flight just got delayed 18 hours, no worries. And it's just an image of them with Civ. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, anything could happen. You could sit there playing that for 18 hours and your flight could leave after that, and you sit there for another 12 hours and you wouldn't even realise. I'm like, when you hear stories of people like who start playing video games for too long and they end up dying, I feel like the reason we've never heard of that happening with Civ is because it's too common and the news can't even bother to report it. Right, so I need these two inexplicable pink studs. There's these pink studs. They're very feminine as a pink colour, I would say. The plastic somehow feels softer. I could write a letter to my sister with it. I don't have a sister. It's a joke from The Office. They did it better. I suspect that they're studs left over from something else, honestly. Whenever I come across that in Lego, when there's like an odd colour for something to be, I'm like, so that was left over from another set, was it? It's like, you had too many of these in the warehouse, did you? That's what I always assume. Although I suppose that, if it's supposed to be the pink flesh of the armpit, that would be kind of accurate, wouldn't it? And 3 of these. It's so weird with this thing, because we are almost done. Once this wing's on, it's very much just the head to build, which presumably is in here. But it feels like we've got a long way to go, because obviously without a head, it's just a horrific thing, isn't it? But we're close. We've never been quite as close as we are now. I was reading through the paper the other day, and I don't know if this is the same way you live, but our newspapers, the way they work is the first half is like the news. Starts with like headline news, politics, then just general interest, celebrity news, crosswords, jigsaws, like crosswords and puzzles, that sort of thing, Sudoku. So you have all of that, and then you have like the middle of the paper, like the back half, if you will, and it's almost entirely like adverts for shit. Which fair enough, you gotta make a living. But it's always adverts for the sort of people you presume still read the newspaper. Old people who this is their main source for seeing weird products. And there's always a bit like advertising cruise ships. And I saw one, like it was 30 days on a cruise ship. I will continue this cruise ship based tale once I've unwrapped all these goodies. So in here is the head and then the little nameplate, presumably. Yeah, it was 30 days on a cruise ship for not that much money, I don't think. I reckon it was something like 2 or 3 grand, like not an excessive amount. Like a good, like that's a decent holiday, isn't it? But not. It's a decent 2-week job, not 30 days on a cruise. And I was genuinely tempted to do it and just fucking disappear for 30 days. Not tell anyone where I've gone. I just be on this cruise. I think I might genuinely go insane on a cruise though. I like privacy and being alone. So I suspect if I went on a cruise for 30 days, I may end up in my cabin for 30 days. Which would be quite funny as a thing. Oh wait, I fucked this up, haven't I? Have I? No. Wait, what? No. I got it. I got a big box, yes I do. So I need mirrored ones of those, correct? And 2x4. It's those. Good. Good. So the other day I was reading on, I think it was on Twitter or something. You might have heard this story a while back. Some guy found out he had some horrible disease. I forget what. I want to say bone cancer. I don't think it was bone cancer. But he needed a bone marrow donation to live from from a donor, obviously, like a matching donor. In America, this was, so, you know, the healthcare system was out to get him probably. And his friend was like, okay, we're going to do your bucket list. You know, you got a year to live or 2 years to live or whatever. We're going to make it happen. We're going to do everything you ever wanted to do. That's fine. Good friend. Making the most of what time he had left, right? They also set up a thing for like a campaign, like a social media awareness campaign, a little bit like the Ice Bucket Challenge, just as a way to get people to sign up to be a bone marrow donor. Which, now I had, like, ignore what I'm about to say, it's not true, or it might be true. I heard that donating bone marrow is very, very painful. It involves like a very big needle being jabbed into your bone of your thigh. Which is not true, right? It's not true. At least I don't think it's true. And to be a donor, you don't actually donate. You just sign up to donate, and then if they find someone that needs you, then you donate. It's not like being a blood donor where you go, they take your blood, and then they may or may, well, they probably will use it at some point. It's bone marrow donation. It's very much an a la carte system, if you will, to use a term I'm pretty certain is correct there. So that's a campaign they set up, which, fair play. You know, you didn't have to do that. I haven't done that. They did it. Great. And then the story popped up recently that through this campaign, through people signing up, they found a match, and he's going to live. I think he's going to live. He's still alive. He should continue to live. Good for him. He deserves it. His friend deserves something as well. I don't know, a medal of some kind, probably. So I saw this and I thought, I bet, you know, fuck it, I'll sign up to be a bone marrow donor. That seems like a thing to do. I'm pretty sure I saw it on Twitter on my phone, or possibly Reddit, also on my phone. So I was like, I'm not going to do the work now. I'm just gonna go on the website, put my email in so that they've got my email, and like they'll keep reminding me to do it. That was my intention. How the fuck does this go on? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that made sense. I don't know why I couldn't just look at this and figure it out. Okay, but mine's mirrored now and this one isn't. That's why. Wait, what? What? Fucking hell. This is one of those oddly complicated things. It's such a bastard. One of these is mirrored to the others, and I need to find the one that is. And for some reason, there it is. It was not forthcoming. Yeah, so I intended to sign up to be a bone marrow donor. I still haven't done it yet, but it's on my list, and it's more on my list than is probably on your list. So you ought to do that now. Because apparently all you have to do, you sign up, you send them a cheek swab, that's it, right? Imagine how smug you can feel about having done that. You'll probably never actually have to do anything, but you get like the smugness and the joy from being like, yeah, I'm on the bone marrow donor list. You don't even have to go and give blood or anything. Well, you might. Well, apparently when they actually do it, they stick one needle in this arm and one in this arm. This arm drains blood and bone marrow, goes in a machine that takes the bone marrow out, and they stick the blood back in this arm. So, like, giving blood, you know, you have to give your blood for a start, but also, yeah, you can be like woozy or drowsy afterwards. You're not allowed to do it if you're gay, apparently. I don't know if they've repealed that law or not, but, you know, that used to be a thing. So morally, I could see people saying, well, fuck you, I ain't giving blood. You wait, I fucked up, I haven't put 2 bits on. So I'm now smugly advising you to go and become a bone marrow donor. What's the worst that could happen? Worst case scenario, you get to save someone's life. Now, I'm not saying that person might be rich and might reward you heavily. It's probably anonymous, or maybe you have the option. But imagine that they are rich and they do reward you heavily, which is not the spirit in which you should do such a thing. But there's a slim chance, isn't it? It's like entering the lottery, but you don't have to pay to enter. You might get rich, and you get the smug self-satisfaction of saving someone's life. That's win-win-win, isn't it, really? There is a slim risk, though, that you might end up the match for some sort of horrible dictator who will have you kidnapped, and then they'll steal your bone marrow. That is also possible. If that does happen, I'm not taking responsibility, and at the same time, you could probably con them into thinking that like it's like in the film Stardust, where bone marrow is best harvested from like a happy and not just a healthy victim. Go down that route if I were you. You're probably not getting out of giving them your bone marrow, but you can make the best of it. And I now get to write in the description of this video that I spoke about bone marrow for entirely too long. What the fuck am I? How does... I've clearly skipped a stage. Yep. I put these in entirely the wrong place. That's how. I just wish I had the... oh, this is going to be hard to get apart. 2 separators. The forces at work here. This is like an unstoppable force. Okay, I've got a gap. Oh. Right, how did these go on? Oh, cock. Double cock. Double cock and cock sandwich. Right, so that's on there. And then these are actually meant to go here. Hopefully this second one will come off a bit easier. Nope, not even slightly. Right, get that on there. Just tease it gently. Ah, got it. That actually worked. Torquing it gently helped. Ah, there we are. Do you know what film I'm not looking forward to? Fucking Dumbo. Because I strongly remember watching the Dumbo cartoon on VHS a number of times as a child. I think what it was that on the VHS there was it wasn't like a full film. So on the VHS they had like a little short film, or possibly 2 short films before it, which I like watching. One because they were short, but I'm not certain if this was true, but I'm sure one of them was a Noah's Ark film in which like all the animals are helping him build the ark, and it was just like really kind of nice animation and like lots of stuff going on. I just remember genuinely liking watching it. And then you'd watch that and like the tape's already in, Dumbo's starting. You might as well watch Dumbo now. It's not a bad film by any means. I just remember it's just really depressing because like first he gets taken away from his mum, and it's like, oh, it's horrendous to start with. And then he has a shitty time at a circus. There are some crows which are now considered racist. In fact, they were probably racist at the time, but I wasn't hip to the message boards then. Message boards? What year is this? Let's get them. That one's there. Right. Then so it came out like, well, it was sort of, I saw a trailer for Dumbo, and I was like, this has appeared with like no fanfare. I knew about the live action Jungle Book, the live action, yeah, the kid was real, the live action Beauty and the Beast, and then the Lion King, which is seeming to be like the most hyped one so far, and that's also the most questionable use of the words live action in that one, isn't there? It's like, well, is it? Not really. And then this Dumbo one, it's like, yeah, there's also Dumbo, but we don't talk about that so much. And it seems weird because, apart from anything else, it almost, well, actually, it seems more like an actual sequel than it is not a sequel, like a remake than like a whatever they're calling these things. Because so far, like, they've all been pretty much, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. I now realise why I'm so confused, because I'm meant to flip the damn thing over. I was like, none of this adds up. None of this fits. But it's made by Tim Burton, and I don't think I like Tim Burton. I'm pretty sure I've not liked anything he's ever done particularly. Because of his, like, weirdly dark gothic style, I just don't like it. And it's annoying, because I'll watch his films, then later I'll be like, I liked it, but I didn't like the weird dark aesthetic it had. I was like, oh, it was Tim Burton, that's why. Let's see. So I need 2 of these. Somehow, these little fucking pointed bits, I'm yet to just arrange them into piles of fucking left and right. Why am I so angry at this? Tremendous amount of rage today. Shame I can't channel that in any useful field. And a little 4. Yeah, but this Dumbo one, it actually looks like it's like a different story. It's not a shot-for-shot remake. But equally, I suspect it's going to be fairly traumatic. I'm expecting at least one elephant-based death in it. Who knows? Maybe they'll kill 2 elephants. So I may or may not see that. It's 50-50 at this point. Trouble is, I don't see anything at the end of the day. There's a film about Ruth Bader Ginsburg coming out, which I don't know if it's any good. I'll watch it. Apparently she's popular with some people in America. I don't know. I get all of my information from films, you see. Suddenly it's very hot. How am I doing on time? Oh yeah, I forgot to set a timer. So I've been seeing the trailer for Captain Marvel quite a bit, which obviously I'm going to see it because it's a Marvel film. I get very surprised when I see people like, oh yeah, I love all the Marvel films. I've seen them all. I love them. I watched Avengers, Infinity War 4 times. Just really enjoy it. And then they're like, yeah, not sure about that new one though. Don't know if that'll work. And I'm like, surely, like 17 films in or whatever they are. It's like give them the benefit of the doubt. And then I saw the trailer for Captain Marvel, and I was like, it doesn't actually look that great, to be honest. I was like, it's not really doing anything for me. And I'm like, it's probably because they just don't show you much in the trailer. They're probably saving a lot of it for the actual film, which is great if they do. But at the same time, it's like, damn it, I'm not super excited for it. Somehow I fucked up. My epitaph, that, isn't it? Somehow I fucked up. I don't know how, but I have. I have unfucked it. If it's possible for something to be fucked and then unfucked, I've done that. Oh, I'm making its head, aren't I? So this is probably its head. Startling revelation, that one, wasn't it? Okay, this is suddenly complicated. I'm going to need to get all the bits for this before I do anything. This is the first bag since the first bag that's had any number of little cogs and trinkets and wheels and what have you. You and you. So I'm working on a conspiracy in a minute. So a couple of months ago, probably first week of January, I went to McDonald's, a place I'm intimately familiar with in terms of their menu and what's on their menu. It's my treat place, if you will. It's not a big fan of most fast foods, like not a big Indian, Chinese fan, Mexican or what have you. I like pizza, but that's a rare treat. I don't have it very often. If I'm having something unhealthy fast food, it's probably going to be McDonald's. I like other fast foods. It's just they're convenient. There's some nearby me. There's drive-throughs, that sort of thing. I know what it's about. Back in January, I had a double cheeseburger, right, which comes in a paper wrapper, which they double up for other pound menu items and just fold it a different way depending on what's in it, be it a double cheeseburger, a mayo chicken, which I think is called a mayo chicken, and I always call it a chicken mayo, which seems to be the logical way round to have it, because no one's having that and taking the chicken out and just give me a lettuce and mayo. Who's that for? But you might take the mayo off. And the chicken's kind of the main part of that. I'm getting distracted. And on that wrapper, I noticed like there was a new name had popped up. I unwrapped it and it just said bacon double cheeseburger. And I was like, what is this? Is this some secret new member of the family that no one's told me about? Is this being rolled out? Or has this been and gone and I've missed it? I was like, no, it can't be that. I'm on their newsletter. So I set that to one side, and then I noticed that like on the message boards for McDonald's, it had started popping up in places. Now I should point out that if you're in America or whatever, your menu differs to ours, right? Our pound menu, our cheap menu, it's very boring. There's cheeseburger, fries, chicken burger, double cheeseburger. That's it, really. There's nothing else. There was a BLC, but they got rid of that recently. It's heartbreaking. A chicken BLC, no less. So I saw this come up, and I was like, okay, I'll file that away as sort of interesting. Yeah, because when I go to McDonald's and I'm ordering, like when I don't know what I want, I'll have ordered a double cheeseburger. My mouth is doing that. My brain is thinking, what do I actually want? Like that's just laying the groundwork. What else? What am I actually having? Right. So then this bit goes in here. So I filed that away, right? And then it did in fact come out. It was a slow rollout, across the land. Like my brother, he was up in Scotland and he said, well, they got them up there and they had them a few at the service stations. So I was like, okay, so it's in some places, but not all of them. Fair enough. So that happened. And now, recently, they've done two things, right? They brought out the Big Mac with bacon, and they brought back the Big Mac range. The Big Mac, the Mac Junior, the Grand Mac. Which is fine, The Grand Mac's not as big as you want. You want it to be about this big, but, we'll get on that. Not everyone has my fierce appetite for these things. So they brought them out, and then there's also them with bacon. So there's now there's 3 different sizes of Big Mac, with or without bacon, allowing for 6 configurations of Big Mac, which is an impressive amount, but suddenly there's a lot more bacon on the menu. So I'm thinking the price of bacon has gone down, and therefore they can fit bacon in a lot more of their items. It's not really a conspiracy theory. It's probably just a comment on the pork commodities trade, but I find it to be interesting that suddenly they're including bacon on a lot more of their things. It's not halal for a start. I'm wondering if maybe they've got a source of bacon that is acceptable for Muslims somehow. Maybe that's a thing. What in the hell is this piece? That's completely new. It's thrown me off entirely. I've never come across that. That's my McDonald's-based conspiracy. It's actually really interesting reading any story about them. Like, for instance, the McRib, which is just a pork sort of sandwich. They only do that in America when the price of pork is low enough that they can actually do it. So it's not based on, well, it kind of is based on supply and demand, but it's not like, we need a boost to our March sales, bring in the McRib. It's like, okay, the price of pigs has gone down. We can actually pump them out at this rate. And then I remember them doing a thing where they wanted to, I think they were going to add, was it eggplant, which we know is aubergine. They were going to add that to a burger, make something out of that, which I don't know. I don't really eat aubergine particularly. I don't know if that works or not. But apparently it tested well, and they were going to do it, but the only thing stopping them was that there wasn't enough aubergine in America for them to produce it. It's like, wow, that's something on a different scale, isn't it? It's like, we want to make this thing, but it doesn't exist in enough quantity for us to do it. The infrastructure simply doesn't exist. Which is also the same reason in this country that you can get apple cider or cider, you can get pear cider, but you can't get perry, which is if you were to make cider but use pears instead of apples, because there's not enough pears in the country to do it, which I find fascinating. Pear cider is apple cider flavoured like pears, and I love pear flavouring. One of my favourites. It's kind of rare to come across it though. I'd say a pear is actually my favourite fruit as well, but they're just so deeply impractical because you buy them, they're not ripe. When they are ripe, you've got such a small window for eating them. It's so annoying. And the thing is, like, a pear that isn't ripe is dog shit. A pear that's overripe, it's okay. Like, it's not terrible. But a pear just at its prime, when it's so juicy, you need a towel. Oh. So I'm not saying I'm dehydrated, but last night I drank, throughout the course of the night, about a litre of water, which is frankly a lot when you think about it, really, isn't it? It's to be drinking at night when you're in bed. And today, so far, I'm pretty sure I've drunk probably about a litre again, on top of having like meals and what have you. And it's like my mouth is just always dry. I think it's because my nose is a bit blocked up, so I can't breathe from my nose, but there's probably more to it than that. And it's just horrendous because it makes me feel like I'm dying. And again, I might just be dehydrated, but I don't think that's it. It's the wrong weather for that. I could look up my symptoms on WebMD, but I just don't want to be told I've got cancer. It's always it, isn't it? It comes as no surprise. You read articles in the newspaper, it's a different one every day. It's like, turns out this will give you cancer. Turns out eggs give you cancer. Eggs stop this kind of cancer, but they give you this kind of cancer. Having cancer gives you one kind, but takes away the other kind. And then you find out it's like, oh, yeah, no one really knows yet, do they? There's different factors. This doesn't yet look like a porg. I'm thinking these are eyes and this is nose, though. So I was watching Dragon Ball Z in bed last night, and Krillin doesn't have a nose. Okay, you probably know this already. It's not, it's a known factor. I was watching it. I was like, it's weird. Krillin doesn't have a nose. Goku has a nose. Most of the other characters have a nose. Krillin doesn't. And then I was like, how many other animes are there characters where like they just don't have a nose for whatever reason? And I didn't come up with much of a list, but I did come up with a fun game of, think of an anime that you've been watching, right? I've made an error somehow. Oh, no. It's just a very confusing image. Yeah, think of an anime you're watching. Think of that anime character. Do they have a nose? Does everyone in that show have a nose? I was like, I can't answer this. I don't know if these characters do or not for the most part. Then I thought, do I have a nose? Yeah, I do. I mean, that one was easier. How does this attach? How does this attach? There's no fucking... I've made it in reverse. That's why it's not attaching. You fucking idiot. Ah, you bastard. Also, what might be quite useful is to anyone in this sort of world. If Olivia Colman wins an Oscar, for the favourite. There's a bit in that where she's finger blasted by Emma Stone. If you go back to in Peep Show, the sitcom that she kind of got her start in, there's a scene where she's pregnant and giving birth, and the nurse like comes to check on her, and as she leaves, she remarks, "I didn't expect her to put her whole hand in." You could cross those over pretty well. I think that would work quite well. I'm not willing to do the work, but it's probably not that easy, difficult to do. In the same way that I assume this happened when Peter Capaldi was playing Doctor Who, or the Doctor, depending on the rules. You could quite easily just cut his Doctor Who scenes over with dialogue from the thick of it, which is a really funny sitcom. Yeah, kind of sitcom, I suppose, in which mockumentary maybe, in which he plays a very sweary character, i.e. he swears a lot, not based on the game developer, also called Sweary, I think he made Deadly Premonition and a game about being a cat that didn't do very well. I assume that people cut those over each other, and it would have been very funny. And it's probably the sort of thing that would have been shared on Facebook circa the time of airing. I remember in particular there was a Postman Pat one where he was really swearing, and I was like, it's just someone putting swear words over Postman Pat. It's not even that clever. Because I was a smug arsehole. That's how a lot of my stories end. Oh, I'm so close to finishing. I'm in this weird state where I just want to play Monster Hunter just all the time. I think what it is that so far, the past week or so I've been playing, I've not been able to just stop because I'm bored or done with it. I've stopped because I've had to go to work, or I've had to go and do something else, or go out for the night. Not because I've been playing, it's 2 a.m, I've got to go to bed, I'm tired. And I think when you do that with a video game, it keeps you enraptured more when you never get to stop on your own terms. But also at the same time, it's incredibly frustrating because I want to play this until I hate it. What have I made? Is this the back? It's the back of a Porg's head. So there's two sides and the face left to make out of all of this, I'm gathering. And then, I'm making eyes now. The addition of eyes will make this a true Porg, I feel. To these little things. The Porg shall have brown eyes, we've decided. As in, that's what they supply. Actually, this bit used for the eyes is a fairly common piece, so it would probably be fairly easy for me to find some different coloured ones. Not in this jar of spare pieces, but definitely somewhere in a build that I don't intend to keep. Strip them for parts. And then this goes on here. This is going to be really good when I get these eyes in. Oh, I'm looking at them now. They do look pretty good, actually. Alright, you ready for this? With this small addition, right, these are now eyes. Look at that. There's good eyes, isn't it? It works. They move. Oh, they move a bit. Yeah, just a bit. Not too much though. Good. All right, now make something with these archways. The white thing and two of those. Also white. There's a new Men in Black film coming out, which I'm quietly looking forward to, because Men in Black is one of those ideas that I really like the film, and I really like watching the cartoon series about, between the first and second film. And every now and again, something will come out and it will essentially be a Men in Black clone. The biggest one I can think of is R.I.P.D., which you watch it, it's okay, so it's Men in Black, but instead of aliens, it's demons. Fair enough. And it's a blatant clone, but at the same time, it's a great concept. Shit sort of hidden like that. Hellboy had it. Yeah, it was fun in that. They do it in, to be honest, Harry Potter's got it as well, where, you know, it's like, oh yeah, the Wizarding World, it's secret, but it's not overly separate from our world. It's just there. Okay, this terrifies me that this bit goes on here, but it doesn't seem to. Where does it go? Does it attach? Probably up here actually. That'd make more sense. It would make more sense, but it doesn't want to go there. I want to put it in the middle, but does it just go in the middle and it's a weird angle? Why didn't they give me a fucking top-down view? This is the trouble. Everything in Lego is viewed at an angle to give you better perspective, but it doesn't work all the time. Fuck it, just put the head on. Oh. I need a brown bit. Where is said brown bit, though? Should just be a brown rod somewhere. Somehow I'm not seeing it, though. It's very strange, because it should be immediately noticeable. This isn't good. Nope. Nope, not left it there. Normally this sort of thing is always here and it's clearly my fault, but not so much this time. You know what? I think I realise what the issue is. The bolt I need, I put it in like 5 steps ago. It's already here. That's weird. It's really weird. I haven't even finished building the head yet. I got so distracted by this bolt. I was probably supposed to only put it half in before, and I just put it the whole way in. That's what happened. Go back 3 weeks worth of videos and you'll see it. Ah, fuck. I can't push it through at this angle. Oh god, let's go rip a nail. Oh, it hurts. Oh, it's torture. Need something long and thin I can push it through with. This samurai sword seems to be perfect. Oh, it actually was. Alright, I should be able to get at it now. There we are. Right now. Attach the head to the beast. Huh. It's quite funny. Right, you ready for this? There. Okay, so the wings don't move quite as much as I'd like. I want them to flap like way out here. They actually only move a little bit. But if you give it a bit, okay. How's the mouth look? Okay, yeah, the mouth looks pretty funny. I can't remember what noise the Porgs makes. I'm sure it's hilarious. All right, just got a little bit of what's it called to finish up, and they'll be done. Decoration, yeah. I mean, it's all decoration, isn't it? It's purely decorative. I separated all these out into like left and right before, and when I just shuffled everything around looking for this piece that wasn't actually missing, I ruined it. How does this go? Still get to work in orange. That's a nice change of pace. Well, I found out the other day that there's a not deleted scene. There's an end credit scene for Justice League that involves Deathstroke and specifically like Lex Luthor. I think he escapes from prison, goes to a boat, and then he hires Deathstroke for some reason. And it was funny because I saw that. I was like, oh, I've not seen any of that scene. That's weird that I hadn't seen that. And then I was like, oh yeah, because when Justice League was out of the cinema, I went to see it, and the moment it finished, I think I actually said to myself, there's probably a post-credit scene. I don't care though. I was like, I don't care enough about this film to want more of it. Which is kind of a funny thing. Though Aquaman, I quite liked it actually. There was what seems to be inescapable in all these DC films is like big bits of nonsense that is kind of hard to move on from. For example, Batman vs Superman. It had some cool stuff in there. It's not a great film, but yeah, some cool scenes. There's some fun bits. There's some there's, some fun bits in there, as I say. But also, there's a scene with a jar of horse piss where it was labelled Granny's peach tea, and it's like, it was actually horse piss. Lex Luthor made someone get horse piss for him, or he got it himself. It's a weird scene. It's kind of a plot point as well. They could have used anything, but they thought, no, horse piss, that's the way to go. And it was just in the film. Stuff like that. Or personally, one of my favourite things is, this is such an odd moment that you can't unsee it, is that it appears in Justice League that there's a jacket that the Flash is wearing at the start of the film, and after Superman gets brought back, spoilers, Superman is then wearing a very similar jacket, and it's like, it raises so many questions, like, did he steal Barry's jacket? Did Barry give him the jacket? Did the costume department not care and gave them because they're not the same, but they're very similar, and it's just such a, I honestly can't stop thinking about it as a concept. Like was someone in wardrobe just phoning it in so much that day? They're like, fuck it, give him the same jacket, it will do. No, I don't give a shit. No one's really watching, are they? And it's just such a very odd moment. And then Aquaman was like a film of stuff like that. It was a good film, but then there were bits you were like, why was this even here? What was the purpose of this? And it does actually lead me neatly into a game that I kind of made up. Well, no, I did make it up very much. So, but I'm yet for anyone to fully acquire the concept of said game. So what the game is, right? You name an actor. Let's say Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And you say, is Arnold Schwarzenegger the good guy or the bad guy? Is he the goodie? Is he the baddie? That's essentially the game. It's not a complicated game, and it's not like a specific film you're naming. It's, how have I messed this up? I haven't. You think, like, that actor, if he's in a film, do you think he'll be the good guy or the bad guy? It doesn't work so well with leading men like that, because it's like, well, he's always the good guy. Although in Terminator he was the bad guy in those two, so it kind of works. And then you go like, Willem Dafoe, is he the good guy or the bad guy? Like, that's a brilliant one. It's like, well, I mean, famously he was the Green Goblin who was a bad guy, but like, even in films where he's the good guy, it's like, you're expecting him to turn. He's always one step away from going, yeah. It's kind of a fun little game to play. Like, you name an actor, and it's like, do you think they're the good guy or the bad guy? And then the next time you see that actor in a film, you're like, oh, he's definitely going to be the bad guy in this now because of that. On a lesser note, I feel it's the same thing with Sean Bean. When you see him and stuff, you're thinking, okay, he's going to die at the end somehow. I don't know how. And then, it surprises you when he doesn't. My favourite one of those was he was in The Martian, and it's like, well, it's unlikely he's going to die, but we'll see how they do it. And then he didn't die, and it turns out no one dies in The Martian, which I really like that when they have a film like that and no one dies. It's refreshing. But then really the only fallout from the film was that Sean Bean loses his job. So because no one died in the film, like the next worst possible thing to happen to anyone was getting fired, and it was him. So essentially he did die in that film in a sense. I've made a jowl. I've just realised what I've made. I've made this Porg's left jowl. Yeah, that's a thing. If you're not familiar with the term jowl, it's kind of hard to describe. It's essentially the area of face that a sideburn would attach to. It's as good as I can get as a description. This ain't going on very easily. I hope I got it the right way. I do. Stuff like this, you've just got to get the right angle and the right amount of pressure and it will just go on. And it's not. Come on, darling. Push in. There we go. Got it. Again, just the right angle and the right pressure. It just works. It just works. Although, it's not really working. How's that? Are these meant to be level? Yeah, they are. In fact, I reckon I had a different piece in the wrong place all along. In fact, I did. It's entirely wrong. Christ. Well. Wait, what? There we are. I put his eyebrows in the wrong place. Instead of putting them like here above the eye, I put them like round here. Like up here, I suppose. Ear/jowl. Name a bird that has ears. Go. Do owls have ears? I feel like they might. Written myself into a corner already. Bastard. They keep showing it from this angle that makes these pieces look like an entirely different piece. They're very small. I feel like they could, if not make the picture bigger, make my eyes better in some fashion. There's some way around this that it's not my fault, isn't there? Right, let's keep going. Forge ever onward. I wish I had time to play JRPGs. I like them in theory still, but I just don't have time to play them. Tales of Vesperia, probably one of the best Tales games there is. I used to think Tales of Symphonia was better, but in retrospect, I think just Vesperia, by way of being a few years later, just they refined the combat and gameplay that much more. Story's not as good though. The story is very much a story in like sort of 3 separate parts which aren't really related to each other. But yeah, that just came out again on... Now I don't know if it's just a straight re-release or if it's a remaster, to be honest, because the first one came out on 360, then it came out later on PS3 as like with bonus content to it, and I think it's that version that they've re-released, but I don't know if there's kind of any like new bells and whistles to it or not. I presume there is, but that's just come out, and like I love that game, played it all the way through, but I don't know, like I'd like to go back to it and play it again, but I don't think I'd ever really give it the time, you know, because it's a JRPG through and through, which in my mind is code for the pacing's all over the place. It starts slow. You know, suddenly you're fighting cool bosses and dungeons and shit, and then oh, actually, hold on a minute. Now you're gonna slow it right down again. It's like, okay, it's all over the place, and fuck me, you better pay attention to this shit because you're gonna need it in 50 hours time. Yeah, stuff like that. I just don't think I'm at a place where I'll ever have that kind of time again to commit to it. But equally, I wonder, it's like, is it having the time, or is it the patience, or do I just not enjoy that sort of thing anymore, you know? Because I'm thinking, like, I can sit and play Civ for 8 hours, that works. Or Monster Hunter, I'll go and play that for 5 or 6 hours now, that's fine. Is it different types of gameplay that I want? Do I no longer care about odd narratives? Or narrative in general? It's a weird thing. Part of me thinks it's part of the general thing nowadays, purely because of smartphones. I feel like no one has the ability to concentrate on anything for any longer. Attention spans are at an all-time low, and it amazes me, honestly. And one of you, okay, right. I'm on the final jowl.
This is actually kind of a new one, Lego build wise for me, because I've done like the biggest stuff I've done before. It's always been vehicles and machinery, which always has a certain design element to it, doesn't it? It's not, but you know, it's supposed to look like it was designed. Whereas this is very much a bird. It's supposed to be a real living thing, if you will. So it's entirely different. I don't know if I like it or not, to be honest. So far, one of the things that's annoyed me is it's entirely symmetrical because it's a bird. What's gone wrong here? I'm supposed to have 2 mirrored pieces left, and I don't. They're the fucking same, which means I probably put the wrong piece on somewhere. That way, that way, that way, that way. Yeah, that bit's wrong. It's supposed to be this way. Okay, problem solved. It's done. Figured it out. Would have been an entire disservice. Right. Yeah, so the whole thing's symmetrical, which I'd say has made it a little bit less exciting to do, because it's just meant everything you do it again on the other side. The core section was pretty good to do. And the trouble is, because it's not a massive piece, like you do this side of the face, and then 30 seconds later you're doing this side of the face. And at least with the Falcon, a lot of bits are the same, but yeah, it's a while before you come back to them. They pace it out well. I was putting it on upside down the whole time. Okay, right, that's the Porg done. Now I've just got to make the little plate. I always enjoy making these, because without the instructions, I could never get this to be anything close to what it's supposed to be. And then just with them, it's like, oh yeah, that works out really nicely. Ah, you bastard. I don't want to spoil it, but it's looking like this is the kind that doesn't feature a little place for the Porg to sit. Though I'm going to say that's probably fair enough, given that I have just clearly realised that it has been sat there since I put its feet on perfectly fine, so probably doesn't really need it. Not like BB-8. BB-8 needed it. See, BB-8 was an interesting one, because he's a machine, but also he's kind of not a living thing, but he's a robot, you know, so he should move and he should all be functional. It's not like he floats by magic like most of this shit. BB-8 was a good one, actually. That was nice. I wonder if I could feasibly just take them all to pieces and then rebuild them in a few years' time, just for the... No, that's probably a terrible idea. I don't think it's like with jigsaw puzzles where that's an option. Right. So this is annoying. The sticker. This is the sticker that was sort of peeled up and not in the best state. As they would say on like Antiques Roadshow, they would say, "Oh, it's in need of a bit of TLC, isn't it? Needs a bit of TLC." Okay, actually, the sticker has fared fairly well. It's benefited by the fact that, and you'll see this in a minute, the board I've put it on, it's not flat. It's got a row of studs on the outside, which masks it and makes it look a bit nicer. It also allows them to print you a smaller sticker. It's probably the real reason they've done it. Save on the sticker costs. And to think, someday, all of this Lego, all these bricks will end up in a whale's stomach. And behold my Porg nameplate. Now, it's just one additional little step, and that step is making a miniature Porg. Which I've done this before. I've got at least 2 of these already. I find it quite funny because the only pre-molded Porg piece is the Porg's head. All the rest is just, made up. They did this with BB-8 as well, don't they? They give you a little mini one to just sort of stand next to them. I don't know what they'd call them. Microfigs would probably be a good name, because a minifig's like its own moulded thing, but this This here is a micro fig. Okay, right, let's just pop that on there. Right, so there's that bar that's left. That's fine. These two pieces are fine. There's an orange wedge, which is slightly alarming. It makes me think that this isn't perfectly symmetrical in some way, and I'm wondering if I can see that. Well, not really. But there's this orange triangle, which is too big to be left as a spare. So I'm thinking if I look closely at this, I will note that one side has this and one doesn't. And I'm wondering where I will see such a thing. Well, I can't immediately see it. Oh well, should be fine. Yeah, okay, so, and then just the last little bit is, I mean, it's this, it flaps its wings a bit. Does it? It goes both ways. If I flap the wings, the mouth does move, which it should, yeah. That's a nice little thing, didn't need that. I feel like it would be fairly easy to get a real slow motorized effect on this. Yeah, all right. Well, that was the full build. You'll have, well, I released it ages ago. The quick build version of this. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time for something different.